you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
I'm Chris Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. Oh, and the Iron Lady sings that makes it official. Welcome to the big show, ladies and gentlemen. For 16 years and over 2,200 episodes, we bring in the Chris Voss Show, the CEOs, the billionaires, the White House presidential advisors, Pulitzer Prize winners, all the smartest people on the show to share with you journeys of life, their inspirations, some of the cathartic moments they've been through, what they learned from, and great blueprints they can share with you about life and what you can learn from them, as always. That's why I love people on this show. I learn from everybody that comes on this show. I learn all sorts of different new things, new ways of looking at things. It inspires me in so many ways. As always, refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1, the TikTokity, and Chris Voss, Facebook.com. Today we have an amazing young man on the show. We're going to be talking about his insights, his experience, some of the things that drove him through life. Jordy Murphy is the founder and president of Phobisoft.com. He's a recognized leader in the restaurant and hospitality industries with over 30,000 years of experience. His career, boy, he really is young. His career spans concept development, executive leadership, and corporate chef roles, leaving a legacy in some of the nation's most celebrated dining establishments. From launching the iconic Plaza Club in Honolulu to running operations for Wolfgang Puck's Postrio, he has he's brought vision and profitability to high-profile restaurants. His own venture, Jordy's Restaurant, was recognized by Esquire as one of the 10 best new restaurants in America. He's also the author of Opening a Restaurant from Inception to Reception, offering a masterclass in building thriving restaurants. Welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Chris. Thank you for having me.
Yo, thanks for coming. We certainly appreciate it. Give us your .coms. Where do you want people to find you on the interwebs?
At Phobisoft.com, Phobesoft.com, and it's GEO at Phobisoft.com, and GEO at Cypress, CYPRESS, hospitalitygroup.com.
And you put out your book in October 2015, Opening a Restaurant from Inception to Reception. Do we want to do any plugs for the book?
Well, I mean, it's still out there. Mainly people that get it these days get it via tablet or something of that nature. It's not on audiobooks, but we're thinking about redoing it, updating it a little bit. But yeah, it's still out there.
A checklist to help you go through every step of the project and keep you tracked. So give us a 30,000 overview of what you're working on today. I believe it's Phobisoft?
Phobisoft, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just to give you some context here, grew up in Florida, school in Colorado, ended up in San Francisco, or opened the Plaza Club in Honolulu, Hawaii, ended up in San Francisco, where I owned and operated restaurants for about 18, 19 years. Mm-hmm. Worked for the Kimpton Group, where I did Colettos for them, Postrio, 3 years with Wolfgang Puck. Then I did Jordy's, like you mentioned, top 10 best new restaurants in the country by Esquire, Food and Wine, Bon Appetit, and all the publications. I started a group of Asian noodle restaurants with a partner. We had 6 locations in San Francisco, and I needed a way to figure out how the restaurants were doing on a daily basis, because I'd get up in the morning and it's like, where do I go? I've got 6 different locations throughout the Bay Area. Mm-hmm. So I came up with this plan. To date myself a little bit, I would go around and I'd load a program on the computers of all the restaurants, the 6 of them. And at the end of the day, they would enter the sales, front of house, back of the house labor, and whatever they spent that day. They would take that report and fax it to me. So when I got up in the morning, I knew what was happening in the restaurants, and I'd visit the one that maybe had issues or what have you. Mm-hmm. Fast forward, sold the Long Life back to our Taiwanese partners, moved back to Florida, where I grew up, to raise our kids, mm-hmm. and I started a company called Cypress Hospitality Group, still in existence today. Wow. We're one of the premier headhunters for the hospitality industry. We place chefs, managers, all salaried positions in the hospitality industry. So that's where, and I have a couple of recruiters, one main recruiter, my partner, and she handles most of, the work orders come in and she handles it. So it basically runs itself. And probably 8 or 9 years ago, I'm a cyclist and I was riding my bike one morning after numerous calls from friends in the Bay Area. Can you run some numbers for me? I'm going to open a restaurant. Would you do a projection for me? I don't know what my P&L, I got issues. Can you help me? So I had this idea, and I remember I was listening to Steve Jobs' book, and he made a comment that if you can identify a problem and solve that problem, you have an opportunity. Yeah. So that day, I went into my office, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to find a program. So I just started, I made phone calls. In a few weeks, I found the right guy, Raj, who's my partner today. Lives here in Jacksonville, and we have a development team in India, but he's like the main guy. And my other partner, Matthew Sloan, who does sales. And what we did is we initially built it, and you had to still make all these entries. Well, now with development or whatever, what we do is Ubisoft gives restaurants. The restaurant business is a rear view mirror business. They operate for a month. They turn around and look at a bookkeeper or an accountant who hopefully knows what they're doing, because a lot of them, just use like QuickBooks and it's not set up correctly. And we make money last month. Well, they're already 2 weeks into the following month. So if they have issues, those problems are being compounded. Yeah. What Phobisoft does is it gives you a daily profit and loss statement from sales through rent. Oh, wow. It runs month to date, compares to a budget. And it's either red or green. So as you're going along with your budget and your profit and loss statement day by day by day as the month's building, if it turns red, it's like, oh my gosh, my liquor cost is high, or, my china glass and silver is out of whack. So it gives them an opportunity to fix these issues before the month's over. Yeah. Damage to the bottom line.
Yeah. Because how you start bleeding out, you don't want to catch something too late. If you start, doing what I call bleeding out, something is, not working right. Something is not, you're bleeding, like you said. You got your liquor costs is out of control or something like that, and so it can really affect you. And then by the time you catch it, sometimes, you can be quite in a loss position if you're not on top of it.
Yeah, well, that's the business, though, too, because it's a business of pennies. I saw two situations in the last probably 3 or 4 months. There's a chef named Evan Funke. He's probably one of the hottest chefs in the country right now. He owns a restaurant in Los Angeles called Felix, and then he has 2 or 3 other in the concepts called Mother Wolf. There's one in Vegas. There's one in Miami. His very first restaurant, they spent $3.5 million and went out of business. And the interview, this was on Netflix on Master Chefs or whatever. And the comment was, well, what happened? And he says, I had no idea about the financials. I was a chef and I got in there and I didn't know what was going on. And the other situation was Jose Andres, who's one of the top chefs in the world. He's got 40 plus restaurants. He was on a podcast and they asked him, what's the most important thing that a person that's going to get in the restaurant business or, a restaurateur can do? And he said, learn the financials. Yeah. Before recipes, before setting it up, before doing all this stuff, if you don't know the financials, you're behind the 8 ball. Yeah. And we have a client that said, not only did you make my restaurant more profitable, you turned my manager into an operator. Oh. And that's what we do. That's what Phobisoft does. It opens their eyes to what's going on in the industry, or in their 4 walls, basically.
And it works for just about any restaurant. Is that correct?
Pretty much anything. I mean, if you're a group of restaurants, we have a version that we call the Boss View. So you can line 4 or 5 restaurants up, all on one URL. And as you look at it, you can compare them across the board. We've got some restaurants are doing $10-12 million. Other ones are doing $800,000 or $900,000.
Oh, wow.
Because what we've done is we've broke it out into 4 different categories. And what we say is we take little bites. So if you have your sales, and then you have your cost of goods, your labor, your controllables, and your non-controllables. So in your controllables category, a lot of people that just use QuickBooks, well, by the way, we push to QuickBooks too, but some people that use QuickBooks will put all this information in from your controllables into one category called supplies. We have a client 2 months ago, and their supplies category last year had $360,000 in it. And the restaurant did $1.5 million. That's 20%. And where do you know where that 360 grand went at the end of the year? It's in one category. So what we do in the controllables is we break it out into your china, glass, and silver, your restaurant supplies, kitchen supplies, linen and laundry. And it's all, you have a budget for each category. And if you look at it from the business standpoint, say you have a restaurant that's making 10% profit. And if we can find a point in your control, in your cost of goods, we can find a point in your labor, we can find a point in your controllables and a point in your non-controllables, we've added 4 points to the 10% profit. Now they're making 14% profit instead of the 10% profit. That's a 40% increase, which is huge. Can we do that every time? Not necessarily. But we have a group of restaurants that they were making 17, 18% profit, and we got them to 21, 22% profit. But it's paying attention to it, and it's running it like a business. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Cold here.
Yeah. So it helps you run it like a business. So restaurants can take and use this and utilize it. I noticed it says increase your restaurant profit by 20 to 40% in just 5 minutes a day. So
well, it used to take a little bit more, but now with technology, we've got this to where there's basically 3 entry points. We integrate with the point of sale system. So we're bringing the food, beer, wine, liquor, merchandise sales into the sales category. We're bringing the front of house and back of the house labor in because we have the salaries built into the back end. We have your payroll taxes, your workman's comp, all that. So you're getting a true labor figure. We have EDI connections with all the major broadliners, Cisco, US Foods, Benny, Keith, all the big ones. So when the invoice hits the restaurant, the invoice hits PhobeSoft. And we built a piece of AI that maps the invoice to the proper cell in PhobeSoft. It's 97% accurate. Once we map it one time, it hits it every single time. And then if it's say your fish guy, and he writes 10 pounds of ahi tuna, $12 a pound on a napkin, you can take a picture of that napkin with the app on the phone. It goes to the cloud and parses to the cell. So we're basically giving someone a full profit and loss statement every single day, and they barely spend any time on it whatsoever because the information's coming through technology. And then what we do a couple times a month, if they're into it, we hook them up on our alert program, and the 7th of the month, we shoot them a P&L compared to their budget. Here's where you are. Boom, 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 boom. The 20th of the month, we shoot it to them again. Here's where you are. Boom, 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 boom. So what we've done is we've given people in the restaurant business a roadmap to become more profitable. One of the issues in the industry is you get in those 4 walls and you're working 50, 60, 70 hours a week. Sometimes you don't know where to turn, and you don't have someone to ask the question to. Our support team is all ex-restaurateurs. You can ask them a question about anything. Any item, any cost, any what have you, and they have the knowledge to help solve any issues that are out there, or at least have a plan that someone can go along the path to get to the result that they want.
And so you guys have been doing this for how long now?
Well, I've had PhobeSoft for like 8 or 9 years, but the reality, the real piece of it's about 2.5 years old to where we've gotten it, with the integrations, et cetera, to where it works the way that it does.
Nice.
So we've got hundreds of restaurants on it right now. We've got a white label deal with Cisco Foods. Their version is called Proactive P and ANDL. So we do a lot of business with some of their customers. Cruising along.
Cruise along. And so tell us about how you grew up. What were some of your experiences? How'd you get into being a restaurateur? What was some of your motivations there?
Well, I mean, I needed a job to out of high school or in high school to before I went to college. And I started working at a French restaurant here in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. I live at a place called Ponte Vedra Beach. And it was very cool because it was tableside cooking, French restaurant with, wines that today are just ridiculously expensive. Yeah. So I went to school, came home to get my job. I thought I could get the same job because we did very well there. And the guy that I had worked for went to work for Club Corporations of America. So I went to see him downtown at the University Club here, and he said, I can't give someone a summer job, but would you go to Hawaii and help these people open a restaurant? Well, growing up in North Florida, surfing, and having an opportunity to move to the North Shore for a couple of years and surf the North Shore, it was like, sure, I can do that. Yeah. So I went to Honolulu, lived on the North Shore for 2 years, and opened the Plaza Club and figured out through Club Corp that you couldn't go any further with them without a college degree at the time. So I went back to school in Colorado, happened to be the wintertime. Shocking. When the snow was flying.
It's got to be fun.
And I finished school, graduated college, and then went to work for Club Corp in Dallas, Texas, where I ran a country club for them called Canyon Creek Country Club in Richardson, Texas.
Oh, wow.
And that's how I, bounced back into it.
What do you find is fulfilling about the work that you do and being in that field?
Well, the easy answer is that we're helping people, but we're opening the eyes of a lot of restaurateurs. It's Matthew, one of our partners, makes us comment that it's no surprise that the restaurant world is run on QuickBooks. Well, it kind of is. There's 800,000 restaurants in the country.
Wow.
And, a lot of people, it's like, I just need to find a bookkeeper, and then I've got QuickBooks, so they know what they're doing, and they're putting all their financial wherewithal into this person that they think is doing things correctly. And all this person does, they could be an accountant for, a manufacturing company or a clothing store or whatever that has a bunch of accounts, and they set it up like they would a normal business. But in the restaurant business, the main piece is your cost of goods, and it's calculated differently than a manufacturing business. Yeah. You get your percentages of sales off that category of sales. Like your spend on food is divided by your sales on food. Your spend on liquor by your sales on liquor. Your cost of goods on wine, beer, etc., is calculated by the sales on beer and wine, etc. So what we found numerous times is just the other day we had one with the guys like, well, I'm running a 31% food cost. And I'm on the phone and I was talking to him and I calculated and I said, well, that's off total sales. The reality is your food cost is 45%. Yeah. And the guy about was like, oh my God. And then once we walked through it,
it's like, wow.
Yeah, exactly. It's helping people. It's opening their eyes. It's turning restaurant managers into operators. And it's fun. It keeps me in the industry, but I don't have a set of keys, as we like to say.
That's one way of doing it. So let's talk about your other venture that you have, the Cypress Hospitality Group. What do you do over there, and how do you do it?
Well, Cypress, we're one of the premier headhunters in the country for the hospitality business. We find chefs, managers, we're headhunters for. We've been doing that for 22 years, and we're pretty good at it. Because everybody, and to say here again, they're all from the industry. You have to know that if Daniel Ballou needs a assistant manager, you're not sending him an assistant manager from Fridays. Well, some people there's so many people that have attacked the hospitality business to be a headhunter that don't understand. They just send paper. We interview the people, we send bios on the people, we headshots. If they're chefs, we send pictures of their food. Like right now, we're looking for a chef and a manager in South Florida. We need sommeliers and assistant managers in North Florida. I need a couple people in Alaska. I need people in Northern California.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So you guys, now, how do people sign up for that? Do you have to find them, or can they apply? It looks like people, if they're looking for talent, they can go to your website and submit, who they're looking for, I guess.
Well, it's just what we do is we have a conversation with them first to find out exactly what their needs are.
Okay.
And then we can, prepare correctly and sell the opportunity the best. So it's just, an email to me, geo@cypresshospitalitygroup.com. And then, I have a conversation with them, and they have a conversation with the headhunter, and we go from there. And we pretty much can take care of it in, a week to 2 weeks. We fill most of the positions. 95% are filled within the first 2 to 3 weeks. So, because what happens now in the industry, people are pulled in so many directions. It's like, I'm going to put an ad on, these different websites, and they get inundated with resumes. Well, they don't have the time to go through all the resumes because they're doing so many different things. Whereas this is what we, the Cypress people do all day long. We have people all over the place.
So people can sign up there. They can find what they want. It says you have a 93% placement rate within the first week of receiving a work order.
Exactly.
If people are looking for work, can they contact you, or is it just...
Yes, they can send their resumes, but it depends on where, if I get a resume for someone, say in Chicago right now, I don't have any work orders in Chicago. But we put them in the database, and they get phone calls occasionally. So, that's
casinos, restaurants. I live in Vegas, so imagine casinos are always looking for hospitality people and stuff like that.
Casinos are a little different, though. The restaurants and the casinos are we've done a ton of work. I've done work for Wolf out there. I've done work for Michael Mina, for a bunch of different, restaurateurs in Las Vegas. Casinos are a little different because of the security requirements and all that. They have their own way of doing things.
Yeah. Yeah. So fun is fun. What haven't we talked about with the two companies you have that people should know about?
I don't know. Here's
we covered a lot.
Yeah. We've just to give you an indication on, since I guess the last 6 or 8 months, we've processed $500 million worth of invoices through our Microsoft Azure and the AI that we built. And, we teach people how to take small bites from InfoBeSoft to get to the profitability that they want to be at. And we do most of the work for them. Like, we set their budgets up. We do all that. With Cypress, if you need help, be it chef, sous chef, manager, general manager, we do that all day, every day. And we can find those people pretty much anywhere.
So we got it all in the can. Give people your final thoughts as we go out, and tell people how they can onboard with you at both websites and find out more.
Well, it's pretty simple. The email address is geo@fobesoft.com, FOBESOFT.com. And at Cypress, it's geo@Cypress, CYPRESS, hospitalitygroup.com. And both websites, it's fobesoft.com and cypresshospitalitygroup.com. And then there's, of course, Facebook, et cetera, Fobesoft and Cypress Hospitality Group.
Sounds good. Serving the restaurant industry, because we need more good restaurants in this world. We definitely do.
We need more that operate and stay around, too.
Yeah, and probably, what's the employment condition like of restaurants right now? Is there people fighting over, top employees, or how's it working out?
Yes, it's tough. It's, there's less people getting into it, and it's still continuing more restaurants open.
It's because all those young Gen Zers, they're into Instagram.
Well, they'd rather be in the restaurant than work in the restaurant.
Yeah, that's true. I would, but you don't want me cooking anything. I'm not that great of a cook. But I often joke that I should go to chef school so that I can maybe meet the woman of my dreams, maybe, and have her be a cordon bleu chef. That, or I just need to hang out outside the exit or something and pick up. So, well, thank you very much, Shorty, for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate it too, Chris.
Well, thanks for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss. Chris Voss, one on the TikTok, and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. And that should have us out. So, Jordy, I didn't know you